For giving me a promotion, Tim, executive director now. But so thank you for having me today, Tim. Today we're going to be discussing Torian Resources and our projects, in addition to a really exciting announcement that we've actually just made this morning. So if we can go to the next slide. So Torian's flagship project, it's the Mount Sterling project, which sits at around 25 kilometers northwest of Leonora in Western Australia's eastern Goldfields. Great access to roads, rail, and infrastructure. Move on to the next slide, please. This is a map of the project, of the Mount Sterling project, highlighted there in yellow. That is Torian's tenements, surrounded in by Red 5. If you look on the right-hand side, that open pit over there, that's Red 5's flagship King of the Hills mine. And then highlighted within our tenements are numerous gold targets and, as we'll discuss soon, rare earth and critical mineral targets as well. Next slide, please. So we'll start off with the gold, as this is something that the company has been known for a number of years. And the Mount Sterling project, as you can see on the right-hand side here of the slide, sits in a very well-endowed region of the Goldfields. Millions of ounces have been discovered and processed in the region. So the best place to look for a new gold deposit is in a region which has a significant amount of those. So to date, Torian, we have just under 120,000 ounces of gold resource, and we'll go through that over the next slide. So the 120,000 ounces, we intend to build on that. We have a new mineral resource estimate, which is due later this month at the MS Vizarian deposit and the Sterling Well deposit. That's going to come off the back of a significant amount of drilling, over 26,000 meters of drilling, which has been taking place in the last 5 or 6 months. We anticipate to grow that deposit, or both of those deposits, both MS Vizarian and Sterling Well, in addition to increasing the confidence level of that deposit from inferred and indicated to a much larger portion of it being indicated. You go to the next slide, please. So as I said, numerous thousands of meters of drilling, over 160 odd drill holes, which will be included in the upcoming MRE. And now the idea behind that MRE was to extend the strike of the resource and also to continue at depth. And we've been successful in doing that. And we've had some really significant results over the last few months. Following the resource announcement, we'll be looking at a pit optimization study. And the good thing about this resource, it is mineralization from surface. So it's really suitable for a low waste, a low strip ratio, open pit mining. Next slide. So this gives you a snapshot of the MS Vizarian, the Sterling Well resource. The MS Vizarian resource there, if you look at the Vizarian lode in Mount Sterling, as it moves on to Skywing, that makes up the system. That strike of that system is about 1.2 kilometers, and the initial resource last year was only done at about 740 meters. So you see there the potential for significant growth of that resource. See how it just plays off the Ursus fault, where you'll see Tyrannus. Now, Tyrannus is one of our primary gold targets that sits directly on the Ursus fault, and on the Ursus fault itself, there are numerous other gold resources belonging to Red 5, and it's a really prospective region for us to be discovering potentially new resources as well as growing what we already have. Next slide, please. This gives you a long section, so it gives you an understanding of the breadth of this resource and the potential to continue to grow it into the future as it remains open at depth and along strike. Next slide. The Sterling Well resource, which sits just to the southwest of the MS Vizarian resource, currently has just over 16,000 ounces. A number of about 40 drill holes approximately have been drilled since the last MRE, which was done on this resource. Over 4,000 meters of drilling. We have intercepted significant gold grades outside the bounds of the original resource. So part of the global resource update coming later this month will include an upgrade of the Sterling Well resource as well. Next slide. So what's next for our gold projects? We're going to continue to grow these resources. We've also over the last 12 months in particular done a lot of reconnaissance work and have come up with over 10 high priority targets, which we've ranked. Some of them have already been drilled, and primary gold has been discovered. As I mentioned earlier, it's a highly prospective region with millions of ounces of gold discovered and processed. And we believe that we're sitting on a really, really significantly well-endowed gold project. So after the MRE, we'll be looking at a pit optimization study, and followed by an additional MRE for some of our other gold targets, in particular the Esther gold target down in the southern part of the project. Move on to the next slide. Now I'll talk about our rare earth project, which has really grabbed a lot of attention in the last few months. This was a chance discovery which was made late in the year last year. We identified the Yitra project. The Yitra is about a 1.3 kilometer a footprint of anomalous rare earths, which were discovered using PXRF. We followed that up with auger vacuum drilling, and since then, since we've discovered Yttrium, which contains the rare earths as well as critical minerals, which we'll talk about soon, we've also discovered another prospect, Wishbone, which is about 1 kilometer away and again has about a 1.3 kilometer strike length. So a really significant footprint, which we are continuing to explore, and just to see this, to uncover the sheer scale and size of it, we will be testing at this point about a 7.5 kilometer strike corridor together. So we can move to the next slide. So what makes this rare earth discovery, or we believe makes it really unique, is within rare earths itself, there are heavy rare earths and there are light rare earths. Now, heavy rare earths are typically a lot more valuable than light rare earths. In our system, what we have is a system which has a significantly high ratio of heavy to light. So this about 65% of the rare earths are in the more valuable heavy rare earths. We also have the 5 most critical rare earths that you can see on your slide. And also importantly, when it comes to processing rare earths, often it becomes quite difficult because the rare earths are entangled with uranium or thorium. In our case, we have dubbed this a clean heavy rare earth discovery because there's almost no uranium or thorium to speak of, which will make processing down the track a lot cheaper and a lot more economical and a lot more viable. Move on to the next slide, please. So what have we achieved and what are we looking to achieve? So although this discovery was only made recently, we're actually well advanced. And the reason we're well advanced is there was a lot of drilling done there for gold over 2021. And since we've discovered the rare earth anomaly and the potential for rare earth and the rare earth that exists within the project, we've actually gone back to those drilling samples and are testing those and assaying them. And we're getting results fairly quickly. We've in the middle of a mineralogy study, which we've announced some preliminary results today, which look really good. And we're starting to work with NAGROM on a metallurgical study, which we anticipate preliminary results during the 3rd quarter of this year. We also anticipate having a maiden JORC resource by the end of the 3rd quarter. So we're well advanced into developing this really exciting rare earths project. And yeah, we're really excited for what the future holds here. We can move to the next slide, please. Now, in today's announcement this morning, we've announced that we've also uncovered a really significant amount of cobalt and scandium. Scandium and cobalt being critical minerals and very valuable minerals as well. The unique thing about the scandium here is it's quite homogeneous. It's not just in a lot in one area. It's spread throughout the system. One other important part of the system, which I failed to mention earlier, is that the system is actually contained within the regolith at this stage. It's not, we haven't yet explored the hard rock. We anticipate it comes from the hard rock, but so far it's just in the regolith. So processing is really easy, just literally digging it out of the ground which we own, by the way. And it's something which we're really excited about, in particular with the addition of the announced scandium and cobalt today. Next slide, please. So we at Torian, we've got a number of commodities that we're exploring. Really excited about our gold project and our rare earths and critical minerals. We're continuing to work in the right location, and we look to continue to grow and develop these exciting assets. Next slide. Yep. There's just a corporate snapshot of where we're at the moment. We move towards the end of the presentation. Next slide. Again, you could read that for yourself. We've got a great mix of youth, experience, technical, corporate, and legal expertise. And next slide, please. And that concludes the presentation. So thank you very much for your attention today. Thanks,
Peretz. We've got a number of questions here. I mean, Torian, and I believe you're about to rebrand as well. You kind of spoilt for choice here. Can you talk about how you manage gold production with rare earth production, with potentially critical earth production?
Right. So the critical minerals and the rare earths are mixed together within the one project. So that's the one. With the gold, we've spent a lot of time over the last year or so developing our gold assets. We will continue to develop our gold assets. We've done a really good job at retention of our technical team and our fieldies over the last 12 to 18 months, and credit goes to our exploration manager for that. So it's been difficult to get people over that time. We've been able to keep our people, which makes things a lot easier when we're talking about developing our projects on the ground. At this stage, we're a very binary focused company. We're not just rare earths, we're not just critical minerals, we're not just gold. We focus on all of it. And the good thing is it's not in different locations either. It's all on the same piece of land and the same project.
And does the company's kind of diverted in different directions in the past, does the company have the expertise to manage these different areas of mining?
Yeah, so the reason why we found this rare earth deposit, well, not deposit yet, but hopefully soon to be, is because Claudia, our exploration manager, actually used to work at Northern Minerals when they made their rare earth discovery. So he has been he's got a wealth of experience in gold and now rare earths as well, and he's able to focus on both of those. We've also recently announced that we'll be bringing on a new technical director, Mr. Matthew Longworth, who will be joining us after our AGM next week. He's got a wealth of experience in gold and scandium as well.
There was a headline in Reuters today talking about how the Pentagon has asked Congress to fund mining projects in Australia and the UK. And last year, I think it was, the Pentagon actually allocated $30 million to Linus, which is out not far away from where you are. And they're obviously a $7 billion company. But to get to that next stage, particularly with critical minerals and rare earths, there is a lot of government and support and potentially funding, but that's a long pathway for Torian. So how do you kind of manage these different areas in that regard?
Right, so we are actively working at the moment to secure government funding, both state and federal. Whilst we are not quite there yet for significant funding, we believe that following the preliminary results of our metallurgical testing, which at this stage, everything looks good. We haven't encountered any negatives just yet, so fingers crossed it does come out well. We believe that we will be a significant target for that type of investment because of the really unique nature of what we have. It's clean, got all the critical minerals, it's got the scandium, the cobalt, and it's all in the regolith. It's much easier processing.
And from a processing perspective, not having radioactive materials like uranium and I forget the other one, thorium, is it?
Thorium, yeah.
It must be a clear advantage in terms of kind of ESG principles as well.
Oh, absolutely. It makes your processing easier, cheaper. Your environmental issues are much reduced. I mean, typically rare earth refining and processing is quite dirty, but without the uranium and the thorium, it makes it much cleaner. So that's a unique edge that our rare earth project has.
And I would have thought for potential offtakes into your rare earths and critical elements, critical minerals, sure, that's a very important consideration moving forward.
Sure, we've already commenced discussions with offtake brokers who are keenly following our progress, and there's no shortage of partners, whether it's the local Australian government or governments in Asia like South Korea, Japan, or even the United States. I mean, there's no shortage of demand for this type of mineral.
Great, Peretz. That's all we have time for. The story is really developing rapidly.
Thank you. Just to go back, sorry, Tim, what you mentioned earlier, we are changing our name, so people should be aware on Monday to Azra Minerals. And the reason is Torian has been known as a gold company for many, many years. And as we go through this transformation of having this binary focus with gold, rare earths, and critical minerals, we believed it's perfect timing to rebrand so that people don't think of us as just a gold business.
And what's the new code?
It will be ASR.
ASR. Okay, we'll follow that. Thanks, Peretz. That's all we have time for. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you, Tim.